You're on the Six Screens Telenetwork, earning the reputation of giving all the right ingredients, uninhibited, and exposing the hard, cold facts about the Watchtower Society.
Well, we are so glad once again here on a Sunday afternoon, a beautiful day up here in Boston. Boy, we've got I'll tell you the sun. I'm looking out the studio window. I'm looking at the beautiful blue sky. I'm looking at the pine trees rustling in the wind. And boy, I really hope it's good where you are too. Well, my name is Rick Ferrer, and I'm coming to you from, we say, the apostate capital of the world up here in Boston. And friends, it is the apostate capital of the world, and we'll be able to give full credentials. I mean, right now we have a lot of apostates, but if you come here another month from now, just about a month from now, you are going to see perhaps 500 apostates up here in the town I live in Tewksbury, Massachusetts, and we will have the bragging rights of saying without any question of a doubt that Boston is the apostate capital of the world. So, wow, we're so nice and glad to be able to be here, like I say, on a Sunday. We've got a lot to talk about. We'll get right into it. And we'll just talk about the convention. You know, I've been getting emails coming in here about our Still Alive in 2025 convention. And I got a lot of people asking me, Rick, I really want to come. I'm up in the air about it. What if people recognize me? I got relatives, I got friends that are Jehovah's Witnesses. So they're saying, what am I going to do? How am I going to handle this? Well, we got two things worked out for you. First of all, we have these masks. Now, these are masks. I have them for the ladies, and I got them for the gentlemen as well. And you can put these masks on. I got a bunch of them. You put the mask on. Now, if you don't think that type of a mask will work for you, I have full face masks as well. So you'll be able to wear those and enjoy the convention, and nobody's going to recognize you. And also, like I say, they are filming a movie. Let's go with that. A film all about Jehovah's Witnesses. And they're coming in from Spain. It's going to be a really good film. It's not some, rinky-dink thing. They're putting a lot of effort into it. They're sending a movie crew from Spain, a 12-person movie crew, to come and film this. You could call it a documentary. You could call it a story, series even, that they're going to film about Jehovah's Witnesses. Now, it's for the most part, they're following the ex-witness movement. And there's so many people right now that are leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses. And it got the attention of this movie company. So they want to film all of the people, and interview some and show that the Watchtower is hemorrhaging. People are saying, wow, I don't want any part of it anymore. So we're looking forward to going to that convention, and that movie crew is going to open the film up at our convention. So I'm kind of pleased about that. And I think you would be pleased too that we're going to have this happen. So we're looking forward to it as well. So anyways, that's going to happen. And if you want a ticket, if you're listening in and you want a ticket to the convention, it's free. All you have to do is write to me, jwworldnews@gmail.com, and I'll send you a ticket through email. And you'll have a number on it. And take a picture of it or bring that number to the convention and say, hey, I'm ticket number 85. And you'll be able to come into the convention. We'll have a really good time. So let's just take a look and see what's going on behind the curtains of the Watchtower on this Sunday, June 29th. And first of all, I want to talk about this. We had on last night, if you guys were watching, Jonas, and he's the YouTuber. He's a comic, and he's the YouTuber. It has the goat farm over in Norway. And he came on live last night on our Six Screens JW World News program, and we really enjoyed having him with us. And he's doing a convention. It's not a convention. I'm saying convention, but it's not a convention. It's a stand-up comedy show, basically in front of the Convention of Jehovah's Witnesses in London, England. So he feels that he can reach some of the witnesses through humor. And, at first I'm saying, what? I'm scratching my head. Well, will they get it? Well, after listening to Jonas last night, I think it's a good idea. I mean, I've tried different things. I've tried signs. I've tried to talk to these witnesses at the conventions I protested at. But he's going to have some comics, comedians, I should say. And they're going to be standing outside and they're going to be telling jokes. Now, not all off-color jokes about Jehovah's Witnesses. These guys are professional comedians, and they're going to just tell jokes. And he's hoping that might draw some of the witnesses by to at least listen or engage in a conversation. So I got what he's trying to do. So he contacted me, and he said he'd like to speak about that on our program last night. So I said, by all means, come on, Jonas. So he was on last night. We really enjoyed his company. So that got me, I'll go back now to our convention. So that got me thinking that, wow, other people are going to start doing this, and maybe this could spiral into many conventions all around the world. So we'll see what happens. But anyways, I wanted to talk about what he said last night. We all knew it too, because we've been talking about it for a year, all about Norway. And Jonas is from Norway. But in Norway, and he confirmed it. I mean, we knew it anyways, but he confirmed it that, the witnesses are no longer a registered religion in Norway. And rightfully so, because of their shunning mostly. And when Norway looked into the background of Jehovah's Witnesses, Norway saw how heinous and evil they are, so they cut off their charitable funds. And it was about $1.5 million the Watchtower is losing every year because the Jehovah's Witnesses will not conform to their standards. Jehovah's Witnesses say, if you're going to continue to shun people, we're not giving you the money. That's what the Norwegian government said to the Jehovah's Witnesses. So we got that part of it. But really why I bring that up, right now, we have Norway that's got a bone to pick with the Jehovah's Witnesses. We got Japan. They got a bone to pick with the Jehovah's Witnesses. Belgium, they don't like the idea of Jehovah's Witnesses covering up pedophilia. Slovakia, same thing. They don't like the cover up. Russia, well, they were one of the first to jump on the bandwagon. They banned the Jehovah's Witnesses. France, they're really starting to speak up heavily against the witnesses. Belgium, Denmark, these countries as well. There's 12 of them at least. And now something happened on June 17th that has me really, really in glee. And it should have you in glee. What happened on June 17th is an amazing thing. In the House of Parliament in the United Kingdom, the man spoke up and identified the Jehovah's Witnesses as being a cult. You heard it right, a cult. That is amazing. This is the United Kingdom. The Jehovah's Witnesses have oodles of Jehovah's Witness people living in the United Kingdom. And this man, his name was Sam. I'll give you his whole thing. Let me just I'm going to scroll down to the video because I want you to see the video as well. But the man's name, he stood up in Parliament on June 17th. That was just last Tuesday. Now, Sam Carling, he's a former Jehovah's Witness, and he's also an MP member. What that means is a member of Parliament, MP for a member of Parliament. So Sam Carling, he's only 23 years old. He's the youngest member of Parliament in the UK, and he was so eager to bring up a bill. If you understand what Parliament does, it's like our Congress in the United States. They bring up laws, or they bring up bills, so to speak, that will make laws into things that people really need. And so Sam Carling, ex-Jehovah's Witness, in the Parliament on Tuesday, stood up courageously, and he said, look at Jehovah's Witnesses have to be investigated. They are covering up child sex abuse. I'm going to play a clip. Let me play the clip for you. Just give me a second to do this. I got to get back into my StreamYard platform. Just give me a second to do this right now. So what I got to do here, I want you to hear this clip. It's amazing. It's amazing what this man said. And I'll tell you what, I'll be talking about this for weeks to come on the 6 screens. So let's get in here. Let's share the screen. We're going to go to Sam Carling right here. Let's get that up. I'm going to share it right now. Hold on. I'm going to play this clip to you once again. Listen in as Sam Carling, former Jehovah's Witness, speaks up in the Parliament in the UK, talking about Jehovah's Witnesses. Listen to him. Yeah, mute it. Sam Carling.
Deputy Speaker. And may I begin again welcoming this bill. It will deliver so much for my constituents in relation to protecting people from crime and enabling tough action on antisocial behaviour, including areas which have for too long been labelled low level and ignored, like the illegal and off-road bikes, which my constituents so often raise with me. And it will introduce mandatory reporting for child sexual abuse, one of the key recommendations from the independent inquiry into child sexual abuse, which I'll abbreviate as ICSA for the remainder of this speech. That is a long overdue measure and one long.
Okay, so you see him on there. That's Sam Carling. Look at him. He's only 23 years old. He's a young guy. And he's standing up. I'm going to kind of fast forward. I played more for you last night, but we don't have a whole lot of time today. So let's just fast forward here. I'm going to bring it forward here. He talks about the Jehovah's Witnesses. Let's hear what he has to say.
The mandatory duty to report must be absolutely watertight, as ICSA recommended, to prevent people in leadership organisations or in leadership of organisations like this from avoiding it. So I'll come to the 3 gaps in turn. Firstly, there are no criminal sanctions if you don't comply with the duty. I understand that the government is proposing professional sanctions, i.e. a referral to the Disclosure and Barring Service and to relevant professional regulators, but that's not a duty. It would not, for example, do much in religious settings where so many of the failings are happening and where the duty would, if constructed properly, immensely help to protect children. ICSA were clear that failure to comply should be a criminal offence. My Amendment 10 makes this the case and proposes a fine as the appropriate sanction, which is in line with best practice overseas. Because many other countries, France, Australia, parts of Canada, and so on, have introduced mandatory reporting, and many have done so with criminal sanctions of this kind. And while the government will likely say that criminal sanctions could have a chilling effect that stops people going into professions that work with children, the international evidence clearly shows that this does not happen. In the Australian state of Victoria, for example, and Professor Ben Matthews has done some extensive research on mandatory reporting laws and their efficacy, which I thoroughly encourage the Minister to ask officials to examine. The second gap relates to who actually comes under the duty to report. ICSA recommended that it should apply to any working.
I'm just going to move forward a little bit here, a little bit. He gets into the Jehovah's Witnesses. Listen to this.
Percent is critical. It includes sports coaches and teachers for a start, which our schedule does not. And to go back to my example, the Sexual Offences Act includes a very effective definition of religious leaders in section 22A. We have put a definition of religious leaders into our schedule in this bill, but it requires them to have, and I quote, regular unsupervised contact with children to be subject to the duty. That will allow virtually any religious leader, be they paid clergy or be elder, like in Jehovah's Witnesses, to escape the duty, as very.
Well, there you have it. He mentions Jehovah's Witnesses there. Then he mentions it again. But this clip, I want to bring you up to another clip here. Listen to this other member of parliament. Listen to what he has to say.
Time. I will give way.
Cameron Thomas.
I thank the honourable member for giving way. He's making very important points about, particularly about the Jehovah's Witness cult. And one of the methods that they use to ensure that issues like this don't escape from the organisation itself is the active fellowship, where
are aware of that issue. It's something I am trying to do some work on separately. I think it's not, it is certainly relevant to what I'm discussing here. Just to give the House a little more context on that, what that essentially means is if that organisation decides that someone has committed a serious sin, it can essentially tell all of their family and friends to cut them off permanently. Same applies.
Well, there you go. Well, you heard it right from the horse's mouth. That was Sam Carling, member of Parliament in the UK, bringing up about Jehovah's Witnesses, trying to get a bill passed to really stop Jehovah's Witnesses from covering up child sex abuse. And then the other Parliament member that came on, he openly, without any equivocation, he said that Jehovah's Witnesses are a cult. Do you realize the ramifications of that? The governing body has got to be shaken in their boots. Friends, I've been doing this program for 20 years. And you know what? There's certain news articles that I've been reporting on here as I do the news every week. But this, to me, is in the top 10. This is huge. This could cost the Watchtower millions of dollars. I don't know. They're a private company. I don't know exactly how much it would be. But let me just tell you this, and most people listening to this program know it. In the United Kingdom and pretty much all throughout Europe, what you have over there is religions get money. They don't have the welfare system like we have set up here in the United States. So what you have is these governments allow religions to dish out the money to people who are hurting and need it. So the government said, okay, religions, we'll give you the money. And we know you're going to be honest with it. So why don't you give it out to the people in your church and to the people who really need it? It sounds like a pretty good policy, right? Well, that's what they do. So what they do is the government gives money to all the different religions and these spiritual groups. If they claim they're spiritual, they can get the money. So Jehovah's Witnesses, of course, have had their hand out for years. And the United Kingdom government has been giving them millions. I would estimate, but don't hold me to it because I don't know. But I would estimate anywhere from 15 to 50 million. $15 to $50 million a year is what the Jehovah's Witness organization gets from the charitable contributions of these governments in the UK. That is a sizable chunk of change. Now, wouldn't you hate to lose that if you were a business or an organization? You would. That's sizable. And so that's going to, the old saying, where does it really hurt people? Do sticks and stones hurt people? The old saying, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That doesn't hurt the Watchtower. We can call them every name in the book. But what does hurt them, and you know it, if you hit in the pocketbook, this is going to hit the Watchtower in the pocketbook. Now, that could have rippling effects. This is just in the UK. Now, it could go throughout all of Europe. It could go to Canada. It could go to Australia. It could go to not only everywhere the sun sets in the British colonies around the world. It could go to other countries. This is a big deal, friends, and I wanted to bring that up today on JAW World News Sunday. So I believe that we're going to hear a lot more about this. This is just a tip of the iceberg. And you say, well, what's going to happen? Well, what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you, I'm just hypothesizing. But what could happen here? That this could really change a lot of Watchtower doctrine or their policy. They're going to have to stop shunning people. They're going to have to come clean when it comes to child sex abuse. They're going to have to get more straight-laced here and stop being so fraudulent. They're going to have to meet the desires and meet the obligations that these foreign countries are putting on them. And I hope America listens. I hope that the USA, where we are right here, I hope that they will listen to the cry out from this young man, Samuel Carlin, in the UK, in the Parliament. Well, thank you for coming in today to JW World News. If anybody has any thoughts on that, go ahead and hit star 6, I'm sorry, and come up with whatever you want to say. We do have some people on our phone line. If you want to just speak up and say, is it going to make a difference? Is it not going to make a difference? So some people have already written that it's not going to happen. You know, they written me and said, Rick, it sounds good, but nothing ever happens. And I know, at least here in the United States, I know that they put the kibosh to anything that is going to speak so openly about Jehovah's Witnesses. Somehow it gets killed. So I hope that doesn't happen in the UK. Anyways, I see Debbie writing in, a Watchtower did not win in Norway. Well, it's still up in the air, but they're not registered. They're not a registered religion in Norway. Now we're going to wait a year. Watchtower's appealing it, but right now the witnesses in Norway are not getting any money. In another year, when it comes back to court, maybe, but they are right now not getting money. Well, if there's any other thoughts at all, let me take a quick look through there. 602, you're on with us. Go ahead, 602.
Yeah, hey Rick. You asked a question, and I guess the people in the chat are asking, and just like I talked about this so many times, in the United States, the freedom of religion, it's imagine it being a hurdle, like when you're in the Olympics when you're running and you have to jump the high beam, right? It is such a huge obstacle that it really is a waste of time to go after Watchtower on a religious front. It's just the amount of money, the obstacles, the First Amendment, it's going to always reign supreme. But crooks like Watchtower and, for example, Al Capone and the Mafia, they use the Constitution, they use the laws that are there to protect us as individual citizens, but they use it in a nefarious way, right? They hide behind the law. So how did they take down the Mafia? They took them down via RICO, they took them down via tax evasion. So I really think, like, when they were talking about the child sexual abuse, that has nothing to do with religion. So what happens is you lower the bar. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm trying to say, so if you're going to go after somebody, do you really want to climb a wall that's 100 feet high, or would you rather just climb one that's, say, 20 feet high? And so when you're going after Watchtower, I think that is where they've been hit the hardest, because they've been paying out, large sums of money because of child sex abuse. They haven't been paying out money because of religious abuse. I have not seen one Watchtower lawsuit where they lost money because somebody was abused spiritually. So I really think that's the avenue you go to attack Watchtower. What do you think about that? And I also sent you an email regarding a poem, because you know how King Abad always wants to write poems. So I sent you a poem for your convention in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. But
I got that. I got that poem. Thank you. I got that poem. It's very well written. Thank you.
Good poem. Yeah. So that's what I was thinking, Rick. It's just, I know a lot of people have high hopes, but it's just not going to happen in the United States. I really think if you're going to attack Watchtower, you attack them with things that are non-religious, and that gives you more power. Like, for example, you could be banking fraud with, the stealing of the Kingdom Halls, what they're doing there in Menlo Park. That has a better chance of having success than religious, fighting them on a religious ground.
Well, no, I know where you're coming from with that, Gilbert. And you know something? So what you're doing there is you're now into a criminal situation. If they really stole that Kingdom Hall, as the brothers in Menlo Park say they did, well, that's criminal. So, that's easier to get a charge on them. Now, when you're talking about shunning and you're talking about even covering up child sex abuse, it's very difficult to totally indict the Watchtower, because even when it comes to child abuse, they're going to say, well, we're a hierarchical organization. And I'm sorry, they're going to say they're a non-hierarchical organization. They're going to say that the elders did this. So there's such a runaround when it comes to court that nobody knows anything. But if you got them on the same thing with shunning, shunning's not against the law. It's not a crime. But if you can get them on a crime, I think you're going to point, yes.
But shunning, a good lawyer will use shunning not as a basis, but it will say shunning is like a firing a whistleblower. And when Jehovah's Witnesses, they use their shunning policy to get rid of elders in the Menlo Park congregation. So by them disfellowshipping and shunning the elders, they have now destroyed the evidence. They have destroyed the ability of the whistleblower to come out and say, hey, we have a hostile takeover of our property. And so the shunning aspect, when you tell the government, it's like, hey, imagine if some illegal activity was happening in this courtroom, and then the judge decided to just fire everybody that knew about the illegal activity. That's shunning. So it's in the real world we call it whistleblower, but in the Jehovah's Witness world they call it shunning. But it's really still the same. It's a cover-up. And so a lot of times, remember what's worse, the crime or the cover-up? The cover-up is even worse. So the shunning, Watchtower uses shunning to kill their whistleblowers when it comes to child sex abuse and when it comes to stealing of property, financial property from local congregations. So I would use the shunning from that angle, when because whistleblowers is something that the courts recognize. And whistleblowers and shunning are one and the same. It's the same thing, it's just they changed the name.
Well, it is. Well, that's a good thought. Well, thank you for your thoughts on that, Gilbert. Always good to hear from you. Say hello to Jesse. Say hello to Jesse and keep cranking away at it. Thank you, Gilbert. Well, we've got the Christian Court coming up next. Now, don't go anywhere. That's our program here on Sunday. As soon as I mention Christian, everybody heads for the mountains. I don't get it. Don't you want to know God? You've been in the Watchtower, folks. Why did you go to the meetings? Why were you going? So why don't you listen in? Now, the Christian Court, it's not going to be like in-your-face Christianity. What it is on the Christian Court that's coming up next. I know you'll like the program. What it is peculiar questions that Christians would ask. And, there could be multitude of answers. And unlike the Watchtower, you can ask the Watchtower a question, but you can't question their answers. But in the real world of Christianity, sometimes different answers can come forward. And it's not a salvation point, but you can run with an answer that is godly and can move you in the right direction. So we have that program coming up next with two scholars. Don't go anywhere. It's coming up next. Thank you for coming into JW World News Sunday edition. And we will see you back here in 2 weeks on Sunday edition Watchtower News. Thank you very much. And we appreciate all those people wanting to spend the afternoon with us here on Six Screen Sunday. Thank you.